Where do we start? There's so much going on, especially on the earnings front. So Intel, looking at it right now, up just fractionally right now. It was up a lot more earlier today. This is ahead of the chip company's earnings report. So they're out after the bell. You know, analysts are becoming more enthusiastic, I guess we'll say, about Intel's prospects. The stock up 47% so far this month. But more important than the actual figures, the top and bottom line, is going to be any guidance from Intel about the early reaction to its newly launched Panther Lake processors. I don't know what's going on with that name, but
I like it.
That's apparently it. Several Wall Street analysts have turned more positive on Intel in recent weeks after, it unveiled these new processors. And also President Trump praising Intel's CEO. It's also received some upgrades in recent days from, a number of different analysts. And let's remember, the U.S. government and Nvidia both took stakes in Intel last year. So we're going to be keeping an eye on Intel because it's out after the closing bell with its earnings report card. I also have my eye on Procter Gamble, down about 1% here in the pre-market. Some mixed results from P&G. Demand for its Gillette razors and Pampers fell. Do you use Gillette razors?
Yes. Boom.
All right. Well, it's not enough. Buy more.
Sensor 3. Well, they get you with the blades. That's the market.
Yeah. So, but you know what? In all fairness, this latest quarter, it faced a tough comparison to a year ago because that's when consumers stockpiled things like toilet paper, detergent. Remember that ahead of those port strikes? We were trying to get all those essentials. Also, P&G saying that the government shutdown and the temporary pause of food aid also hurt the company. But P&G's CEO says, we're going to rebound here in the next 6 months. He thinks this was the softest quarter of the fiscal year. Shares fell, though. P&G down 15% last year, underperforming the S&P by quite a lot.
I look at him and it's like Graham Dodd and Cottle from 30 years ago, and we're all following Nvidia's latest chip.
Right. I mean,
it's like two different worlds.
GDP growth story plus a 2.9% dividend yield. That's life with Procter.
Have you ever visited like Cincinnati and Louisville, like the huge combine there?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been there.
Cincinnati's a great town.
Yeah. But people are not buying diapers apparently right now, so we'll see.
No, we're not.
We'll see what happens. Maybe we're going back to the cloth diapers.
Ed Ludlow out in San Francisco does a Costco photo like Lisa Mateo.
Yeah.
It's basically a cart full of diapers.
Yep. That's where
good morning to Ed Ludlow, just waking up there. Bloomberg Technology, we'll talk about Nvidia and such today. What else do you have, Alexis?
All right. Well, we've been talking about it because it's the story that won't go away. Paramount, Netflix, Warner Brothers. So David Ellison and Paramount continuing the battle for Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount this morning filed preliminary proxy materials. It's going to have a proxy fight here, folks, extending its deadline for Warner Brothers shareholders to tender their shares to the company by another month. So now that deadline is February 20th. You'll remember earlier this week, Netflix changed its deal, right, to acquire Warner Brothers to all cash. So I don't know, who's making the money here, Paul?
The bankers and lawyers, as they always do. But what's interesting here, if you just look at the balance sheet of Netflix versus Paramount, Netflix has got a way superior balance sheet, so they can afford to take the price up. They can afford to put more debt on their balance sheet.
You've called this from day one.
Yeah, it's theirs to take, but there's no reason for them to bid here too aggressively.
Is this done over lunch?
It should have been. I could have gotten this done in Michael's, just
get
lunch and a couple
Sunset
cocktails.
Tower Hotel over some overpriced $60 salad.
Yep, absolutely.